Hey everybody, what's going on? It's GIGA here. I was asked to go ahead and make a quick video about the best 5 posture stretches that anyone who sits at a desk or doing, desk work, or if they do like editing and whatnot, content creation, the best 5 posture stretches that anyone can do. Really, it's outside of those people as well. I hope you guys get something out of this. Maybe you guys know these stretches already. We're going to go into a little depth on them to make sure that you're doing them correctly, because that's a big thing that everyone gets wrong, is they do these stretches and don't do them correctly. So they might not help you the best way they can. Without further ado, let's jump right into it. The first stretch, and honestly what I think is probably the stretch that people know already. First stretch that's pretty simple, at least in my opinion, is called the doorway stretch. And so the doorway stretch, what the main point of it is you're trying to stretch your pecs, your chest muscles. And so the way that you do that is you go stand in a doorway, and sadly I do have a doorway over there, except that's a closet doorway and there's a bed in the way. So I can't really, actually, I'll describe it first. More or less what you're going to be doing is you're going to be standing in the doorway. You're going to have, and I'll try to move over this way. I'm going to be trying to put my elbows level with my shoulders, not over, not under. Now, if you want to get more specific, you can do that. But just for the basic stretch, you're putting your elbows at shoulder height. You're keeping this 90-90 position. Oh, it's backwards. What I mean by 90-90 position is your shoulder. So I'm trying to keep my shoulder in line with my elbow there. And then I'm making a straight vertical with my hand. So I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. Again, you can get more into it later on, but just the basic stretch is this 90-90 position on both sides. And the way that you do it is you do not want to just straight up lean into the stretch. And what I mean by that is a lot of people, and I'll try and stand up and actually show you a different view of this, stretching like this. And this is not what you're supposed to do. You can now see that my arm and my shoulder are not doing what I wanted it to do. So when I keep my elbows up the way that they're supposed to, just like this, what I need to do is I need to do 1 foot in front, 1 foot in back. And from here, I keep my chest up. And if I need to scoot closer into the doorway, I can while keeping this position. Now you can even see my chest, my pecs are so tight because I sit like this all day long, that as I'm even just showing this, I can barely get my arms into external rotation. External rotation is this movement right there. That's stretch number 1. No, come on. Come here. I know. You're so cute. You want to say hi? Here, say hello. Hi, everybody. Anyway, so we call this the doorway stretch. Second stretch is something that I preach on my channel, which is called chin tucks. Chin tucks are like the simplest thing you can do anywhere you are. Chin tucks, it's very key how you do this. A chin tuck is not bringing your chin down to your chest. This is the difference, and it comes like this. Come on, chair. So a chin tuck is not this. That is just bending your head down, and you're going to feel a stretch in the back of your neck, which honestly isn't even the best thing you can do. You can see how curved my shoulders are right now with my neck. What you are trying to do is, instead of having this position, like we all are as we're playing games or doing stuff on the computer, watching TV even, is instead what you're trying to do, without even doing anything with my shoulders, my thoracic spine, I'm going to try and sink my chin backwards into my neck. And what I mean by that is I'm trying, people call it making like a double chin, but I'm trying to do this motion. So instead of this, it's that. Now if I have good posture, where I tuck my shoulders back and I do this, and I'm like this, like I'm sure you know some people who actually look like this, you're trying to get your chin to go back into your spine. And now obviously this is a stretch. And so the stretch that you're feeling is going to be right on the back of your head, just above or below the base of your skull and at the top part of your spine. And then you also are going to feel tension in your, throat area, if you will, because you're actually using what are called deep neck flexors to make that motion happen. It's not easy, and it does take practice. So again, it's not this, it's backwards. Not down, but backwards. The third exercise that I think is very important. This I got to get on the bed for, actually. So Luca's probably going to join me, so this will be interesting. It's called a cat camel, or cat camel / cat cow. Basically what you do is you're arching your back, your spine and back and forth. You're trying to keep your back level at first. And I'm actually doing part of the camel part. So you can see I'm lowering my back down like this. The cat part is doing the opposite. So when, thanks mom. The cat part is when I arch my back up and actually try to increase my thoracic curvature, which is the middle of your back. This is decreasing it and increasing my lordotic or lumbar curvature. This is the opposite. For this one, what I would be trying to do is hold it each for about 5 or 10 seconds, breathing in between each one. You can do longer if you want, but that's really all I would recommend right now. And I would go back and forth 5 to 10 times, honestly. And you're trying to even get your pelvis into it. What I mean by that is when I go into my lordotic curve, my lumbar curve, where I'm sticking my butt up almost, I'm trying to get my booty cheeks up. I'm just saying. But then when I do it the other way, hi Luca, then I'm trying to tuck my hips underneath me to get that thoracic curvature and hold it again. Now you're also going to feel this difficulty, like even I do, feel this difficulty when it comes to trying to hold those positions. One, that's because of tightness in the different various musculature. Two, it's because of joint limitations right now. So not only are your muscles limited, but because your joints haven't been moved that way, it's not going to feel the same yet. And then 3, there's weakness because you've been tight, so you haven't been able to actually use your muscles the way that you need to in order to do that. So don't think that it's just going to happen all at once. On to the 4th one. This one is, I think, very underrated because people don't think about it when it comes to posture, but this is a hip flexor stretch. And what I mean by hip flexors, your hip flexors are the muscles on the front of your hips, but essentially there's 2 or 3 muscles. The one I'm thinking of right now is the one that crosses from your pelvis down onto your femur. And so what your pelvis are the bones in your hips, and then your femur is your thigh bone. And so the way that you're trying to do this, and this is very specific, and why I'm trying to describe this in good detail, because if you don't do it this way, you're really you're not giving yourself the best stretch. The way that you're going to be trying to do this is your hip flexor is shortened or tightened when you're in the sitting position. So the position that I'm in right now, anyone else who's sitting right now, same idea. What I mean by this, and I'll try and make this tight, I know this is going to look weird for a second, is something like this. So you can see right here, right now my pelvis, because my butt is coming out this way, if I want to make my hip flexors when I'm stretching them get stretched more, then I actually want to accentuate that posture. No, I don't. Never mind. That's wrong. That's wrong. Don't believe that. That's the opposite of what I'm talking about. So right here, sorry, I'll hold it like this. Right here is where the top of that muscle is, and the bottom is down in my femur here. So if I want to make this line longer, when I stretch it, if I do that, then what it does, if I pull this back, so if I pull this part, like this end of the line backwards, so now it's here, that will effectively make this line going backwards longer. And so I'll show you that with this hip flexor stretch. So I'll do it on this leg. So when I do this stretch, I have one knee in front of me, my opposite leg out in front of me, hello, in this position where Luca can come and give us a hug. I know, you're so good. Other leg is the one that's getting the stretch. So to go over this again, my left leg should be straight up behind me. If I need to move it slightly to balance, I can. But really, I'm feeling a stretch on the front of my hip right here. If I lean back like this, that's great and all, right? However, now I'm putting stress on my back, and that's not good. So what instead I'm going to do is I'm going to move my right foot forward and lean into this further. Now I can feel as I do that, my back wants to arch. I want to make it so that it doesn't do that. The reason your back is arching is because your muscle is tight, and that's what your body does so that it doesn't be uncomfortable as much. So instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pelvis, which right now is angled like this. You can see it's curving like this. I'm going to, oh gosh, this is hard. I'm going to pull it under me by doing this motion. And by this motion, I mean bringing the bottom of my hips forward and the top of my hips back. So this is bad. That is good. This is bad. Pulling my hips straight under me. And I feel it get much, much tighter, much more intense when I do that. You can do that for about 20 seconds. Switch to the other side. All good thing. That actually felt really good. What do you think, Luca? Did you think it was good? Okay. And then the final stretch. And so the reason, sorry, before I get to the final stretch, the reason that that's so important is because your hips are connected to your back. If your hips are tight, your back is also going to feel affected. So you got to stretch your hips too. The last of these 5 that I'm thinking about right now is called, well, I think it's like Phalans Stretch technically. Something like that. Basically what it is you are stretching your wrists. You're actually stretching your forearm muscles when you do this. The way that you do this is, again, you can have good posture while you do it. You put your hands together just like this, just even. Well, if I can make them even. And what you're doing is you don't need to bring your elbows up super high. You can just have them resting. I bring them up a little bit. So they're not quite shoulder level, but they're not just resting down here. I think technically you can bring them to the 90-90 position again so that they're even with your shoulders. But I keep them out a little bit. Not all the, well, that's where this is going to go. Basically what you're trying to do is you're trying to sink your hands down to where your elbow level is so that you feel the stretch in the front part of your forearm. And by the front, I mean like the under part, if you will. If the like tan part is the top, then the bottom of your forearm. We call this the anterior side of your forearm. At least I do. But yeah, so I bring my wrists down to stretch them. If you see this gap, so you see how my wrists, like the bottom of my palms, are actually starting to come apart. I'm starting to go too far. And so what I mean by that is, if I'm doing this and it's coming out like that, that means I'm getting this restriction. And so I need to go until they, like just before they do, and I might need to stretch up to do it. So basically what I'm doing is I'm coming all the way down like this. And right there is when they start to come apart. So I hold this for, 10, 20 seconds, just breathing through it. And then I nice and easy come back up. If you want to, you can bounce a little bit while you do this. There is a lot of research going around talking about how dynamic stretching is better than static stretching. As long as you get into that end range, you might not even feel this intense pull. Maybe you will. You might even feel some numbness or tingling in your fingers when you do this. If it starts to get really intense, you need to back off. If it's just a little bit, that's okay. That means that you're actually stretching the nerves in your carpal tunnel, which is like, it's not bad. It's a good thing that you're mobilizing them because you're loosening adhesions, which will in turn hopefully reduce inflammation and like increase motion. Altogether, it's fairly simple. A lot of people will say to do it like this. I feel like this puts way too much strain on the actual wrist itself, like the ligaments and whatnot. I feel like this is more gentle while still giving you what you need. I know some people will do like their individual fingers. I don't think that actually stretches your forearm muscles at that point. I think it just stretches the joints or like stretches the ligaments and mobilizes the joints in your fingers, which, some people need. But the whole point of this is so that it's a carpal tunnel / forearm stretch. All these are very good. They're very simple. You don't need a lot to do them. Honestly, it's the hip flexor stretch that's the one that's probably most like invasive because you need to kneel on the ground sort of idea. I know some people will make it even more intense by doing an extra bit to it. I'm not going to show that. One, because I can't do it. But two, because it's pretty intense and you can start to get into like danger zone with it. Just keeping it simple. Cat camel, cat cow is like a very comfy stretch. You can do that on the ground too or in your bed. Regardless, I hope this helps. I hope this is quick and easy. I'm happy to do these sorts of things. I know that it's very like some people will say one thing and other people say another. I'm just giving you 5 stretches that I do when I feel tight and they seem to help. And so, I'm just some guy on the internet. I hope you guys enjoyed. Otherwise, we'll do this again sometime soon. Maybe if we need stretches for something else, like just your legs, your hips, as opposed to posture stretches or whatnot, let me know. Like I said, we'll be doing this again sometime. Thank you guys very much. Have a great weekend, and take care.